You know what I mean?
Isn't he selling his Truth Social tweets to people and then they can bet on it?
What?
You know what's in the air, you know what's in the air, you know what's in the air, you know what's in the air. It's possibility, it's possibility, it's possibility, it's possibility.
All right, so Rogan did his usual kind of group podcast with Mark Normand, Ari Shaffir, and Shane Gillis, and some clips have been going around about this because there's a couple moments where Shane Gillis prods Rogan a little bit about Trump, and they get into some stuff about Trump's corruption and other political topics. Mostly they're just fucking around, goofing around in this episode, but there are a couple pointed moments where they first of all get into Trump's like crypto schemes and this pay-to-play scheme that he has with Truth Social, where some people are paying exorbitant amounts of money to have early access to Truth Social posts, which will indicate, you know, what Trump is going to say, which will move the market. So just blatant insider trading. And Rogan has been, you know, kind of sitting on the fence about Trump since he first came into office, and even as a lot of the people who were kind of caping for him going into it have changed their mind or changed their tune about Trump. Rogan has stayed pretty consistent, and you can see some frustration from Gillis over that. He has, in a few instances, tried to like gently suggest like maybe there's something wrong with this guy, maybe there's something up with him, maybe there's something not right about this whole situation. So this is one of the first times that it seems like that really broke through and they actually had a conversation about it that kind of went somewhere. But there's some really interesting threads here about like socialism and government services, which is something that Rogan talks about all the time, and is another case of Shane Gillis kind of gently prodding him about his pre-existing notions, preconceived notions about that. So here's them talking about Trump and his blatant corruption schemes.
You know what I mean?
Isn't he selling his Truth Social tweets to people and then they can bet on it?
What?
I think, yeah.
You can bet on anything
He's selling access.
Yeah, selling access.
To what? He's selling faster access to his tweets, and then you can bet on it.
Bet on what his tweets
on
will
the
be?
markets. Because
wait a minute,
it's literally insider trading.
It's Kashi. You
Maybe
can bet
I'm
on
wrong,
everything
I
you
don't
can
know.
fix.
Yeah.
wait a
You
minute,
fix your
is
own
that
bets.
real? You get access to a tweet before he makes it, and then you could bet on that tweet? How's that legal?
We'll see.
Wait a minute, what is this? Trump sued over Truth Social advance access sale.
And I'm online in the Oval Office.
Who is
It's so
telling
fair.
him this is a good idea? I feel like I need
Nobody's
to be closer
telling him
to
shit.
$1,000 contracts.
Yeah, it's $100,000 you can get his early
Yo,
tweets.
Hey.
you know how crazy that is? $100,000 to get early tweets?
Hey, bet 200 on
That's
it.
literally
Yeah, it must
crazy.
piss you off so much when he tweets like
Truth Social's
the guy
parent
from Twilight's
company,
a bitch.
Trump Media, announced in July it would offer subscribers to Truth API who paid up to $100,000 each month. Oh my God, not even just $100,000 a year,
a
each
Patreon?
month.
He's raking it
For
in.
early access to market-moving posts from Trump and other people who use the platform.
Market moving.
You imagine you charge $1.2 million a year? He's just on a grab.
Oh, yeah.
And to get that, it's just people who are like,
But
yeah,
who?
we'll profit off that.
I just want to be in the meeting where they go, I got an idea.
And everyone looks at each other and is like,
Let's do
should we
it.
tell them no?
They go, look, everyone hates us anyway.
$100,000.
Fuck it.
I bet it wasn't even Trump. It was probably some weasel who works in the administration. It's like, charge them $100,000 a month, and you post things, and they can move the market.
Yikes.
What are
Just
we
another
doing?
form of the same shit.
Well, here's the thing: is it legal? Because it is available.
The
If someone else
government's
wants to
doing it,
sign up
they'll just
for
make
it,
it legal.
It doesn't seem like it should be.
Obviously,
legal.
he operates in legal fucking
Gray
Great
area.
land.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing about the Trump coin. It's not illegal. Like coins are
Well,
not
that's her,
illegal.
what's her name? Was like,
Yeah, but
my
it
husband's
is
investing
gay.
on that.
Right.
It's gay.
This is all gay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enough.
Well,
Enough.
it's not good if you're already wealthy.
I've had enough.
Yeah, so a lot of people are roasting this kind of like what routine that Joe Rogan is doing. He's always so clueless when it's one of these things that Trump has done wrong or one of these things that's in the news. I mean, it's all over the place. If Shane Gillis has heard about it, I mean, he's a relatively right-leaning guy, but clearly this is just the kind of stuff that you know if you have an interest in corruption, you have an interest in the government wasting money, which Rogan claims to have an interest in, and yet he just somehow hasn't heard about this. So that ignorance is bliss when you're as closely tied in with Trump as Rogan is, but here he acknowledges, that that's fucked up. But at any time the conversation goes there, into, you know, the blatant corruption of Trump and all this like family enrichment that's going on there, Rogan always kind of pivots to this kind of vague place of like, man, it seems like it's impossible to stop corruption. It seems like it's impossible to stop people in power from doing crazy corrupt things. And what's lost when he does that is the idea that Trump is, you know, the most corrupt of all time. So the headline for all of this stuff is that the narratives that Rogan and others use to put Trump into power is what has empowered him to do all of this corrupt shit. Those narratives about anything from immigration to communism to, you know, welfare being stolen by Haitian immigrants or whatever it is, that has enabled Trump to be the most corrupt president of all time. Because even if you feel that other presidents' behavior or policy is inexcusable, none of them have engaged in corruption to the same level as Trump. And, you know, these guys will quibble about billions of dollars here and there that they feel is being wasted by the government. And meanwhile, Trump is just absolutely enriching himself either with taxpayer dollars or making money appear on the market by the sheer value of what he has to say as president. So there was a point of agreement between Shane and Joe Rogan here, but clearly that wouldn't have happened without Shane being willing to pierce the bubble of Rogan talking about corruption while carefully avoiding this elephant in the room. And that's the thing that other friends of Joe Rogan's don't seem as willing or able to do. Here's another moment, great moment, where Shane does that, where they start by talking about, this is a theory that Rogan has been saying over and over again about USAID funding rappers as a way to like destabilize society, or, you know, essentially blaming hip-hop's popularity on USAID and saying that hip-hop is not in the charts anymore because USAID was defunded. So here is them talking about that dumb theory.
We're back on aid.
USAID, the Agency for International Development, is well known
Fauci
to have
was
been
big on
funding about a bunch of radical anti-government rappers overseas. Funding
Overseas.
a ton of them, like a ton of. It was basically all about regime change. That was a big part of what USAID was about. And the thought is that USAID had some. Look, Mike Benz, he has a famous quote that USAID was there for things that were too dirty for the CIA. What are you doing?
No,
All right.
Joe, the reason
Making
rap
hands.
was gone
Just because
Drake was gone.
Where would
now,
he go?
Poppy's home.
No,
Iceman
USA
came out.
didn't fund
Let's check
rap
the
music,
charts.
despite what this viral right-wing theory claims about
Yes.
chart decline.
There you go.
Yeah, but this is Yahoo News, and that's owned by Ari's family.
Joe, can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
USA did a lot of good stuff.
You've gotten so big that all of your opinions will be debunked.
Yeah.
But this one is not mine. I read this online, and I read this from people like, one of them was Mike Benz, and Mike Benz is very credible and was talking about it. So it's not my
Mike
idea
Benz,
at all.
isn't he a CIA disinformation agent?
Is that what you think?
Oh,
Obviously,
shit.
he's a
I get
CIA
you.
guy going on.
I call him on FaceTime right now. We'll find out.
Call him.
No, I'm
him.
scared of that guy.
Ask him if he's disinformation agent.
I go, hey, we're in the middle of Protect Our Parks.
Yeah, can you
Well,
hand me
he's
that?
a lot of-
I plead the
Bodega.
fifth. Give me that puppy.
A lot of what he's saying is not pro-CIA at all.
That's because that's what they want, brother. There's no way the CIA would let a CIA agent fucking talk shit.
That's true.
You're freaking me out, man.
They want to give us bad info. They love disinformation.
CIA's
They invented
slippery,
psyops.
God damn it.
slippery group. They did the acid things.
Perhaps. Oh, yeah, they did. That must have been fun. Imagine
That was
watching
a
people
fun
try
one.
to get laid meanwhile they're on an acid.
Cuban hip hop.
Whoa.
Yeah. Failed attempt to infiltrate Cuban hip hop. Yeah,
Behind
but they tried.
That
But
makes sense, though.
It
They're
just
getting
says failed.
anti-government shit.
It says failed.
Yeah, but
10
this
years ago.
it makes perfect sense. They're getting other countries like cultural revolutions. They always try to make other governments unstable. What a better way than good
Yeah,
music.
so I've mentioned this before, and you know they go right over it right there. Joe breezes past this like he has done a bunch of times. But the only instance of this happening in terms of USAID funding rappers, it is in Cuba where they were funding anti-communist, anti-government rappers. Very pointed intentions there, and that is perfectly aligned with what all of the regime change, or especially trying to suppress or oppose left-wing governments throughout the world, world, that is usually the number one intent of the United States government when it comes to these type of infiltration schemes. Rogan's narrative is that they're doing it in all types of instances, especially as a way to institute like left-wing policy. That's his conception of what's happening here that he's getting from Mike Benz. So Gillis doesn't get into that, and they all kind of miss the fact that what they're really talking about is anti-communist rappers being funded by USAID, which is something that's not convenient for Rogan's narrative. But Shane Gillis does directly call out Mike Benz, who is a super sketchy CIA like misinformation agent type of guy who comes out and talks about how misinformation works because he has insider knowledge. He's worked with the government, he's worked with private and public security agencies, etc. So Shane Gillis correctly calls him out as being a Fed, and Rogan just doesn't really have an answer for that. But it does seem like, there's a little tiny bit of tension when it comes to Shane Gillis and hearing the way some of these other comedians talk. And obviously he's guilty of it as well. He says dumb things, and probably they're all just his friends before anything else. I don't expect him to have a huge falling out with these guys over it. But he's definitely more interested in information and more interested in history than most of these comedy friends of his seem to be, as well as the fact that him being independently successful makes it easier for him to call out Rogan. That usually is the common denominator among people that are willing to be honest about this sort of thing. So in this next part, they start by talking about communism, which Shane Gillis actually brings up just in the context of talking about like history stuff he's reading or listening to or whatever, and gives a pretty basic take on communism, nothing really that shocking. I want to break that open a little bit, but also they get then into an interesting discussion about things like free healthcare and whether or not that is communism. So here's them talking about that.
The Holodomor was one of the worst things that's ever happened. So communism's the gayest shit ever.
It's the worst shit.
Somebody needs to look into how gay communism is.
But isn't it crazy that it's making a comeback?
Yeah.
It always does. It's a cycle. There's a cycle.
The problem is if we cannot call it communism if we get free healthcare.
Right.
That would be a good move.
That would help a lot.
We're calling everybody communist that wants free
socialist,
healthcare.
communist, and you're like,
free healthcare is cool.
Yeah.
We should have that.
It's normal.
Yeah.
That's not communism.
We should have
Communism is
healthcare
no
and
private
education.
property.
Yeah.
You should treat the entire country like it's a community. If you have a community, would you want the sickest person to fucking die who could be very valuable if you could like take care of them? And do you have the resources to take care of them?
Of course you should. We're a rich country.
Exactly.
Do it with the libraries. It's no big deal.
This is the problem with
We don't feel like a
capitalism.
community.
This is the reason why people turn on all these billionaires. They turn on them because why do you have so much when people have so little? But it's because it's the game. It's the game that they're playing, and you're playing the game too. You're just not playing it at that level.
This is a pretty straight down the middle take on communism in general from a historical perspective, saying that things like Stalin doing the Holodomor or that type of starvation is it's some of the worst travesties that have happened in history. No doubt, and people argue about the intent of it or whatever, but essentially what Shane Gillis is saying is that because of the state ownership of all property, because there was no private property, that's why things like that happen. So that's a pretty basic simplified understanding of communism and socialism, but a lot of people I think are coming to those conclusions as these things become more hot button topics. And then Shane smartly, as Joe Rogan takes the bait talking about communism, man, it's crazy how it's coming back, Shane then says, but we need to not call free healthcare communism, because free healthcare is good and that's something that we should have. So that's like a solid, reasonable take, and I do think that is reflective of how a lot of people in this country feel. They are definitely on board with the idea of free healthcare, free education, and things like that. But some of the further loftier ideas that some of the DSA people are putting out there are not something that they're so much on board with. So I think that it's important to focus on those policies specifically, because even though there are people in the DSA who believe in a more radical, more no private property version of socialism or approach to governance or whatever, the point of the DSA project right now is to democratize certain parts of the economy, which is exactly what he's talking about with healthcare. Because if you were to take the private healthcare and health insurance industry and completely nationalize it, that would essentially be a bloodbath within that industry economically. And you can expect to hear all kinds of hyperbole and screaming about how this is effectively genocide of an entire industry if that were to happen. I mean, that's what that type of policy is up against in America. So it is going to be called communism. Joe Rogan is going to be one of the ones who calls it that because he already is, one of the toadies that kind of pushes that narrative forward when it comes to any type of reforms or, government money going towards anything. So, if you're on board with free healthcare and free education, that's government funded. And if there's one thing that Joe Rogan is consistent about on his program these days, it's advocating against the government spending money on anything. So I thought that was interesting, but then it gets into some other stuff later where they talk more about like how conditions need to change in America and even how like some kind of revolution needs to happen. So it's really fascinating. And again, I think a good reflection of how a lot of Americans think, that there's this kind of like duality in the mind of like communism, socialism, bad, moving in that direction as a society is bad, and yet we need a revolution, which leads to the question of like what kind of revolution and to what end. So we'll get to that in a second, but here's the last part where they're talking more about like government corruption and oligarchy. Rogan has some thoughts on oligarchy.
But I think it was Teddy who did he called it the square deal, which is kind of what we're approaching, which he broke up all the guys that were making all the money, the 1% basically.
Yeah.
They called it the square deal. Was that Teddy?
Wow.
Yeah, focused on the 3 C's: fair consumer protection, control of giant corporations, and conservation of natural
so we're getting
resources.
close to we need another
Yellowstone was
Teddy,
on him.
where somebody's willing
Yes, sir.
to abuse their executive power to shut down whatever the fuck we're doing right now.
But the thing is, like, don't you think that big business and corporations and super PACs and all these different things have gotten so deeply entwined in politics that if a guy ever tried to do anything remotely like that, they'd kill him?
Yeah, we
Probably.
went too far.
We're gonna
I mean,
have
look, we
to-
thought Trump was going to do it. It's clear he's not going to do
too
any of those
deep in.
things.
He's not
Yeah,
going to do
but
any of those
that could
things
be,
they said.
we're gonna have to get, 1 or 2 guys are gonna have to get shot in the head.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do it.
Or something else going to happen.
Uh-oh.
Some other radical change.
But I think the internet is a big part of why we're so fucked.
Yeah.
But you can't get rid of the internet.
Well, I hate
shit,
regulation, but
Mark.
you got to do something with it.
So what do we do? That's what I'm
You
saying.
got to
Like,
start
where do you-
regulating that. It's so bad for people.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's ruined.
Well, you got to teach people to stay off it.
But also, you got to be like, guys,
But
you can't do
they're
this
not.
in society. You're
Right.
turning everyone against each other at a
And
crazy
but the
rate.
problem is they've made so much money doing it, and there's so much money now that these corporations are holding that they have so much influence over politicians. It's really an extraordinary time where these tech oligarchs are really in control of a giant chunk of the narrative that shapes society, shapes our economy, shapes our social systems, shapes everything. There's so much going on right now that it's being manipulated by just a small amount of people. It's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
fucking
so, I mean,
nuts,
this
and
is
nobody's
basically as simple as, Rogan just wants to have his cake and eat it too. He wants to be able to criticize oligarchy while literally being personal friends with the richest person in the world, the oligarch who owns not only, Tesla, but other businesses that are now being folded into surveillance and all kinds of creepy uses like his AI company. So this is more and more private ownership of essentially what should be done in the commons, what should be done in a publicly owned way. Things like space travel, AI, use of these technologies that not only are they dangerous and unpredictable, but they're also not profitable. So they're wasting a bunch of money. In Elon Musk's case, he's wasting a bunch of government and taxpayer money to do these ridiculous projects. And that is what Rogan, specifically purposely empowered, because he felt that type of power, that type of concentration of wealth and power was better than concentrating wealth in the hands of government. And so this is the fundamental dynamic that you see even when they're talking about communism and what they feel is bad about communism and socialism and where they think that went wrong. But ultimately, as much as guys like this might try to like kind of scratch and claw at solutions or beat around the bush because they can see the need for something like a revolution or a radical shift in who controls the levers of society, they're never going to come to the right conclusions. But if political momentum is happening and leaders and people's movements are taking us in a direction where things like universal health care, universal child care are starting to happen, as they're doing in New York under Mamdani, there are going to be reactionaries that point at the whole project and call it socialism or find racist points of attack or other kind of irrelevant things. But ultimately, it has to be a movement that's prepared to deliver those things anyway, even under the conditions of being called communists, being actively opposed by whether it's the federal government or other, Republican outposts, whatever it is, it's going to have to deliver on the promises of a more socialized, more democratized economy, even while people are running their mouths or panicking about the nature of that sort of thing. Because as people get those services instituted in their lives and it becomes something that they can depend on, then that is naturally going to create a more democratic view in the mindset of people. And you have examples of that with the type of programs that we already have, like Social Security, Medicare. These are things that people understand the need for, and we can institute more programs that are so effective and so permanent that even Republicans, whose entire brand is destroying government programs, aren't able to run against those things. And that is currently the job of the Democratic Socialists.
I'm in the pocket, and they know they can't slow it, can't stop shit. How the game so cold, so toxic. Can't drop cause they're in somebody's pocket. For me that's not it.